record. Thank you, Zoom lady. All right. All right, team. Good morning. We're going to talk about group coaching today. I did a quick poll before I started the recording. Almost everybody here is interested in group coaching of some sort, whether now or in the future. So I'm here to spill the beans, to give you all the secrets. I will say that this is based on my own experience. I took a lot of messy action in the beginning with my group coaching, and I didn't really ask anybody how to do it, which is actually pretty unlike me. I like to get everybody's feedback and support and tell me how to do it. But this one, I felt pretty confident in just going for it. And I was actually just having a conversation with one of my clients earlier this week of like, when are you ready to group coach? Like, do I need more experience? Am I good enough? How big should my coaches or my groups be? And do I need to have any structure to them? We're going to cover all of that today. And we're also going to have lots of space for questions. I have the next 90 minutes blocked out. I anticipate that we're going to probably get pretty close to using all of that time, but know if you have to hop off, it's recorded and we will post it in the group for you. So no worries if you have to bounce out. As we go along, if you have questions, I'm going to pause throughout, but if you have questions and you want to pop them in the chat so you don't forget them, that's totally fine. You can go ahead and do that. And that's all the announcements I have. Sound good? We ready to rock? Okay, cool. So like I said, this is all based off my experience. I am totally open to the fact that there are probably also different ways to do this, but I just want to share with you what's worked for me, lessons learned from my own mistakes. And I have been exclusively group coaching for 2 years now. I coach in groups in my private practice, and then I also work for the collective where I'm supporting students in that space, often up to 2 groups of 30 students at a time. So I'm very well versed in holding space for a group and what that looks like. And I still have not forgotten the jitters that I felt the first time that I ran a group. So know that like it's highly likely that you're going to be feeling the feels the first time you ever have a group of like 24 like today, or even if it's just a group of 3 or 4 people at a time. Those feelings are normal, and I encourage you to just like move through them anyway. Just accept them as a part of the process and push forward anyway. It's not a sign that you're doing anything wrong or that it's not the right time for you. It's just part of the gig. So before group coaching starts, I highly recommend you start with one-on-one coaching. And I say this, I know none of you on this call, well, likely all of you on this call have some experience coaching at this point. You are not brand new anymore. Even if you are in like your certification course right now, you likely have a few sessions under your belt. So you are no longer a total newbie. Hello, time to embrace it. I encourage you to step in and step up. But I encourage everyone to start with one-on-one coaching, at least for like 5 or 10 paid clients. Just so that you get practice proposing, that you get practice paid coaching, because believe it or not, you do show up differently when someone is paying you. You show up, I would argue probably even more because you want to serve, because someone is investing actual dollars into your time together. And there's just some like lessons to be learned in one-on-one coaching. Also, one of the most important ones is you might rule out some people that you don't actually want to be coaching. When I first started coaching, I wanted to coach burned out nurses. I really thought that was going to be my end game. And spoiler, I actually hated it. I really didn't like it. Had I started group coaching out of the gate with burned out nurses, I don't know what would have happened. I trust that I would have figured it out, but I learned a lot with like those first 10 paid clients that I had one-on-one. And so I just encourage everyone to do the same. That being said, you do not need to coach for 5 years one-on-one before you start entertaining the ideas of groups. It'll likely happen a lot quicker than that. So like I said, between 5 and 10 one-on-one paid clients, enough experience to then move forward. When it comes to enrolling your group. So a few things to consider here. Groups work best when the clients in those groups have similar goals. They are similar clients. So for example, moms that are burned out, nurses that are burned out, women who want to lose 10 pounds, men who want to heal chronic illness. It doesn't always have to be this way, but I have actually never seen group coaching to where the clients don't have a similar goal in mind, but it just helps the energy of the group to kind of like feel like everyone's in it together. Everyone is like, there's a group of, like for me, the first group space that I was in, it was a bunch of new coaches, and there was something really fun about everybody being new, everybody trying, everybody doing new things, everyone doing scary things. That was really motivating for me. Also, whenever, so like, for instance, if I had Amanda, Nancy, and Kelly in a group together, and they are all new nurse coaches wanting to get their practice off the ground, like Amanda's going to be going through different resistance and different barriers than Nancy and Kelly. But Kelly and Nancy also learn from Amanda and how she is coached and how she is supported by me, and vice versa. So while I think that it's cool for a group setting when everyone has similar goals in mind, that they learn from one another. It's like bonus extra coaching. And especially if you are a new nurse coach, getting into a group space can be a great way to learn how to coach too. That's like kind of how I learned how to actually coach in real life, was by being in group containers. Structure for your groups. So in the mentorship, we do get into this a little bit deeper. We walk you through like an offer creation and help you make it all pretty and everything. If you are a current or past client of mine, that's on the website, so feel free to go check that out. But I do want to like spend a second here to run through some common things to think about. I will say I am not a huge fan of week 1, we do this. Week 2, we do this. Week 3, we do this. I think that that serves us more as the coach than it actually serves your client, especially within like your first 5 groups that you run. There is an awareness that comes in after you've run a few groups that you can kind of predict that at like week 4, people are going to be feeling this way, or week 2, people are going to be experiencing this kind of resistance. There, over time, you will be able to predict some of that. But if we come in with a super hard agenda, in my opinion, it kind of steals from the magic. That being said, whenever you are able to predict what comes next for your clients, you can like have a toolbox and a toolkit of things that work. So like if journaling about their food intake is helpful, or tracking their sleep, or creating, like having a worksheet to help them create a nighttime routine or a morning routine to better facilitate sleep hygiene. Like if those things are helpful, you can absolutely have them in your pocket and have them as a resource. I would just encourage you to have them available for when your client needs it, versus like in week 2, we're going to focus on your workout log, because your client might actually need to be talking about like their relationship with their spouse. And that would actually be most serving to them versus like talking about what they ate for breakfast that day. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. But that being said, some things to think about when you're creating your resource list is, what are your clients' pain points? What are they experiencing? So I know I'm kind of sound like a broken record here, but like, does their sleep suck? Are they unsatisfied in their job? Can they not lose the 10 pounds due to a hormonal imbalance? Like, what are the pain points that your clients are working on? And what does problem solved look like for them? What does life look like when all of their problems have gone away and they have it all figured out? And then what do they need to get from point A to point B? What resources do they need? What are some common barriers and resistance that they have? How does your coaching specifically support them in this process? How are you qualified to help them in this process? Have you been through it yourself? And yeah, that's what I want to say there. Any questions about that so far? Nope. Cool. Okay, I'm going to keep going. I don't want to project my experience on too many of you here, but I do want to warn you that most of the time, first group enrollments flop. I see it like a lot of my clients will get like super stoked because they've had like their first like 5 to 10 clients. They're like, okay, I'm ready. I want to better utilize my time. I want to start a group. Usually they're small groups of like 4 to 6 clients. And then they go out and no one says yes. I also had this happen when in my first year of practice, I enrolled like 6 clients in 1 month. And it was the first time I ever did that. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to go enroll a group now. I was about to have a baby. I was like, I'm going to enroll a 4-week group for nurses who are burned out. Catch how this is a trend for me. And I had 5 sales calls and they all said no. Every single one. I had never had 5 no's in a row at that point yet. And I was like, well, shit. So just know that if that happens, it's kind of like a rite of passage. You didn't do anything wrong, and trust that that is happening for you and not to you, that you are still a good coach, that you can even say, oh, Shelby prepared me for this. I'll just tap back into my one-on-one practice for a little bit and then try again in a few weeks or a few months. I will say that a lot of my clients, whenever they go to fill their first group and have success, it is usually from the people that have told them no in the past due to price. So they probably have 15 to 20 proposals under their belt. They have 5 to 10 paid clients at that point. And then we go to fill a group, and we're not going to make this hard on you here. Just go ahead and start back to the people that you already, or that already know you, they already like you, they already trust you, and they've already told you no. If they told you no due to price, go back and offer them a lower price package. And a lot of times people say yes. I just had a client who like filled a group super easily this way. And whenever I go to fill new groups, that's where I start. I start with the people who told me no based on price or based on timing. I start there first because that is easier than starting from like square one. Okay. All right. So logistics. So usually group sizes are like between 4 and 6 clients is what I recommend. I've done a group of 8 and it was too many for me. I'm not saying that that is too many for you, but it was definitely too many for me. And I felt super rushed because the call was only 2 hours long. And it is really important for me that everyone still gets one-on-one time within that call. So 5 is my magic number. 5 allows me to have 20 minutes-ish per client. It allows me to even go over with some clients if they need a little extra time or space. It has like a 20-minute built-in buffer so that we aren't rushing or no one feels like, or no, I don't want anyone to feel left out. I want everyone to feel like they have the time and the space to get the support that they need on the call. And 5 for me allows me to make sure that happens. The timing of the call. If you work with nurses, this, I will spoil it for you. This is a huge resistance for nurses is I don't know that I'm going to make the time of the call because nurses work nights, swing shifts, day shift, 9 to 5s. Like we are navigating quite a few limits there. So what I have said now is that if you want to be in this space, you will find the time to be on the call and we will figure it out as a group together when the group is filled. So everyone gets in the group. I add them all to the Facebook group. I post a poll with like several different days and times and different times of the day. And then everybody votes on the days that they can make. Specifically don't ask them to vote on the day that they most want. Have them vote on all of the dates and times that they can make to give you best chance to get everybody on the same day and time. I have done like 500 different types of scheduling with nurses. I have picked the call time before I start enrolling. I have picked the call time literally on the fly when I'm on the enrollment call, being like, well, what time works best for you? Let's do it then. And this is, again, the best way that I found to do it. It's just say, we'll figure it out together once everybody is in the group. And I've never had it go wrong. I'm not even going to put a yet on there because I don't want it ever to go wrong. No wiggle room for me there. It's going to continue to work that way. So how long should your coaching container be? I recommend about 8 or 12 weeks. I did 8 weeks for a really, really long time. And this year switched to 12 weeks. And I like that better. There is a little bit of a slump for most clients between like week 6 and 8. So just be aware of that like that's normal. Your clients will be back on board by week 8 to 12 because the container is almost over. You can meet weekly, or you can meet 3 weeks on, 1 week off. Again, if you have like 4 clients, you could probably do a 90-minute coaching call, but if you have 5 to 6, do 2 hours. I do have some clients that also have groups where you meet bi-weekly. I don't have any experience with bi-weekly calls. Well, that's not true. I actually do, and I didn't love it. I ended up switching back to 3 weeks on, 1 week off. So again, you have room for creative independence there. Test a few things out. You can always start with bi-weekly and be like, actually, no, this isn't working. And you can tack a couple more sessions in there too. Have your contracts ready to go and payment options already figured out. So the half-life of excitement is super real. If you've worked with me before as my client, you probably have experience with a client saying yes, and then them going out and finding resistance and then coming back and telling you no. So have your contracts ready, have your invoices ready, and as soon as you get off the call, allow no time to pass. And especially with group coaching, you can leverage, like if they are a yes, say, okay, I'm going to send you some paperwork. I'm going to send you your invoice. As soon as that is paid, I can get you into the group. That reserves your spot. The deposit reserves your spot, or the first payment reserves your spot. And genuinely do not hold spots if your client's being wishy-washy. Just go out and fill your group until it is filled. That's my advice on that. I've held spots for clients before, and then they back out the last second, and then you're like in a frenzy trying to fill that last spot. So pricing for groups, I would recommend between $1,500 and $3,000 for your groups. It depends on what your one-on-one price is. The very first group I ever ran was at $1,800. Laura and I ran that group together. We split it. And then I think we did a couple of 1,800 groups, but after the first 2 to 3 groups, we upped our price. 2 to 3 more groups, we upped our price again. Our goal was to get our groups to $5,000. So we just upped it every few groups until we got to that point. One thing that I was not prepared for, just because someone says yes to the group, I would just think of yourself as like a gatekeeper of your group. And this might sound a little like woo-woo, but you're the gatekeeper of the energy in that group. And if you I just really encourage you to tap into your intuition here. If something tells you that it's off or that this person would be better served in a one-on-one, honor that. And that's really all the explanation that you have to have on a sales call. I've had groups before, and not that it didn't work out, but just being able to backtrack and retrospectively when I had a nudge to offer a client a one-on-one session or a one-on-one contract, and then I didn't, I saw them not be able to fully show up in the group container for whatever reason. And I wish that I just would have at least offered in the beginning for a one-on-one space for some clients. Again, it doesn't happen often, but just think of does this client really benefit from having a community with their coaching is a good way to think about it. All right. And we'll pause for questions here. Janet, I think I saw you pop one. 1,500 to 3,000 a person. Yes. Yes. Any other questions for me on what we've covered so far? I know I'm clicking along here. Good, good, good. You guys are all so smart. No questions? Perfect. All right. So once your group is filled, and then you go to set up the space, right? Everyone has signed their contracts, paid their invoices or deposits, or however you set it up so that they can get in. On the very first call, I still do agreements. Always. I'm obsessed with agreements. I think that agreements are so important. A lot of my clients are like previous students that I've had, or even like previous friends of mine that I've been friends with for a long time. And so agreements just help us transition into a new relationship. And I will never not tell you to do agreements. I think they're so important. So I do the normal ones: safety and confidentiality, playful out, receive feedback with positive intent. And I also mention that it is a sacred space. Like the group coaching spaces that we have are sacred. They are really here for everyone's benefit. And I ask everybody to keep their video on as much as possible. I know that that's not always feasible, like with kids and whatever, but having video on allows for the group space to feel a little like closer and tighter, and like that you're just not talking into the abyss. So that's like an extra one that I put on there. I also say that this is a group. I am not a mind reader. If there is something that you need that you are not getting, or if there is something weird on your end, it is your job to voice it to me. Because I wish that I could gift everybody a crystal ball, but Jeff Bezos has not delivered mine yet. All right. So someone asked me about goals. Heather, I don't know if Heather's on the call, but Heather asked me about goals in the group, and like how to identify goals or work on goals with your individual clients in a group. I have everybody do goals outside of the call. Actually, I post a thread in the group. I say, tell me what your goals are for the next 12 weeks. And I give them an example of like how specific I want them to be. If there's any questions that I have, or I need to coach them around a goal, because sometimes people post goals with like a limiting belief attached to it, then I will spend time on the call with that. But I really want to use the group time for coaching. So anything we can do outside of the group call, like goals, I outsource it. Okay, a few other, speaking of Facebook groups. So if you've worked with me before, you know that you get a Facebook group. That's how we interact in between calls. However you want your clients to interact with you between calls, spell it out. Be very, 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 very specific. This goes for one-on-one and group coaching. If you don't want people PMing you, tell them that. Say the way to ask questions and get support is in the Facebook group. Or like, can they message you? Can they email you? This might feel like overkill for us, but I promise it's not. It's so not. This prevents you from getting out of balance and feeling possibly out of alignment, like you are over giving. But at the same time, if we don't communicate these boundaries, then no one knows. Like, they're not doing it on purpose. But just be very clear on how your clients can get support in between calls. I also tell them how to best use the group space. So I encourage my clients to post like Facebook Lives within our group space, because one, I think it can be helpful to like talk through stuff in real time. So sometimes you come to your own insight when you talk through it out loud. But also, like, if you have someone who's doing 20-minute Facebook Lives 5 times a week, that is a lot to keep up with. So you can create a boundary around that of like, you can post however long you need, but I'm only going to watch the first 10 minutes, or please only like land the plane and keep the Facebook Lives under 10 minutes long. I've never personally had that issue, but I've been in other group spaces where people like set up and like cook dinner and do a Facebook Live in our coaching space, and it's like a lot. So I just wanted to throw that out there too, if you run into that. Again, be really, really clear. This allows your clients to show up powerfully and allows you to serve them powerfully, and just keeps the boundaries like very crisp and clean so that it feels good for everybody. All right. Any questions about that? We have like one more little blurb to get through here. Yeah, Janet.
I feel like the Facebook groups, I've never set them up in such a way as you've described, but how do you manage, like, you know, if all the Facebook groups?
Yeah.
It just feels like a lot, and um,
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess maybe that's
Yeah.
why you set the boundaries, but it, I just wonder how you keep track of all your Facebook groups.
Good question. In the beginning, this wasn't a super big deal because I just had like one. I had one group and then I could like really be on top of it. Currently, I have like five. So yeah, it is a lot to keep on track on top of. Some things that have helped for me. So a few logistics actually when setting up a Facebook group, make sure it's private. Like you can make it to where no one can search your group and that whatever you post in there doesn't appear on anybody's newsfeed. That's an important important tidbit. But what I do, Janet, is I bring up, like, I'll be on my computer because a new thing for me is I don't have Facebook on my phone anymore to help better balance my life. But I'll get on my web browser and I will save my Facebook groups as like a favorite so that I can just tap right in really quickly. And I will scroll through, see if there's anything new and comment right there. I also tell my clients if I haven't addressed something within 24 hours, it means I missed it, not on purpose, but I just get a lot of notifications. So tag me in it so that I know exactly what I missed. And that is also really helpful. And oh, in the contract, I also say that I will respond within like 48 hours to Facebook posts just so that like I can have the weekend off and not have to check my computer. And it's always like I've never had an urgent need in a Facebook group that required like my direct attention. In the beginning, I thought that I had to be on all the time, but I had to just be like, no one's dying here. I can like, take an hour to respond to things. But yeah,
It's
good
not
question.
the ED in Facebook.
Yeah, totally. But is that helpful a little bit, Janet, or is there anything else
Yes.
specific I can answer?
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Any other questions? And also, I know everyone has like feelings about Facebook. I have feelings about Facebook, but Facebook is free, team. So unless you're going to charge more for your coaching to pay for something else to manage a group space, use Facebook. I know it's not like the most perfect thing ever and it comes with a downside, but it's free. All right, team. Any other questions regarding that? Yeah, Kelly.
So Shelby, you make a group and say you have done your 8 weeks or whatever amount of weeks you're going to do, and that group is now complete.
Yeah.
What do you do with the group? Do you just not go to it? I guess I don't understand that piece of Facebook as far as, well, you know how if you have a friend, they pass away and you continue to
Mhm.
get birthday,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So what happens at the end of that group? What do you tend to do? Just not go back to it, or?
Yeah, a little like that. So on the last call, so I also record all of my Zoom meetings and then upload them into the group as well so that people can review them. The other day, I think Sarah's on this call. Sarah asked me a question about like a meditation I did with her literally like a year and a half ago. And she's like, do you think it's still in the group? I was like, probably you can go search it. But Sarah, you'll have to let me know if you found that. I don't know if that actually worked or not, but I upload all the stuff in there and I tell people like that group is for you. We created this community together and I don't want to take it away. So if you need a safe space to reach out to your peers or to get feedback on something, like I'm not gonna delete the Facebook group. I am, however, not going to respond because it is out of alignment for the current clients that I am working with. And that's a boundary I have to say out loud for me because y'all, I'm working still on not being attached to the outcome. I want to see everybody win. So that's a boundary I say out loud so that other people can hold me to it. And there is a way, Kelly, that you can turn off notifications for your group so that you don't get notified. I will say, however, in my previous groups past, I don't utilize it because I don't get a lot of posts in there. Like usually there's celebrations of like, oh, I signed this client, or oh, this finally happened, or and I would love to see those sort of things. But usually the group activity does like taper down once the group space is closed. Yeah, cool. All right. Any other questions here? Yeah, Dana.
Janet asked a question. If it's 1,500 to 3,000 per person per group?
Yeah, we already got to that one a few minutes ago, but it's per person. Yeah,
Gotcha.
you can, I talked about pricing a little bit, so you can catch the recording. But yes, per person. It kind of is dependent on what your one-on-one price is too. And if you are a new coach starting out and you're like, what should my one-on-one price be? It's 1,500 to 3,000, whatever number you can say out loud without totally bursting into flames. It's a good place to start. All right. Any other questions here? I'm flipping between two screens. No. Okay, cool. All right. So last bit of how to hold the group coaching space and time management. So I will shed a little light on how I run my groups. I start or I end with a mindfulness practice. Like most of the time a short one. If my groups are a little smaller, then sometimes we have space for a longer one. If I am unsure where to put the mindfulness practice, I usually just ask, like, do you guys want to get right in and get started? Or do you want to do a mindfulness now to drop in? And the clients I've been working with for a while are most of the time comfortable asking for what they need. So just know that there's flexibility there. Everyone in the group receives laser coaching in my groups. So that means that like Aaron, if you were in my group, you're going to get like 20 minutes of one-on-one coaching. And then Janet is going to get 20 minutes of one-on-one coaching. And then Kelly is going to get 20 minutes of one-on-one coaching. Like I said, I try to outsource all of the educational parts of my coaching or the resources that I have to be recorded or to be like in a PDF form. So that if someone comes to me and they're like, how do you do a proposal? And if you're my current client, I'm not calling anyone in specific out, but if you ask me how to do a proposal for like the 5th time, I'm going to be like, go watch the video for the 5th time. Like we're not going to talk about it here on the call. And it's not because I don't want to support you on how to do a proposal. It's just, I'm kind of burned out about walking people through how to do proposals and like the logistics of that. So that's something to make note of as you do your first few groups. Make note of the things that you talk about a lot. Is there anything that you can record and have it be a resource? Is there any PDF or Word documents that you can make as an exercise to where you can reference people to them? If that was a one-on-one space, you wouldn't necessarily have to do that because you have the time, right? But we're in a group, so we're trying to spend the time on the call actually coaching with things like limiting beliefs or coaching into areas of vulnerability, things like that, rather than spending time educating. So everyone gets about 20 minutes. If you have 5 clients in a group, you have a little bit of wiggle room in there, so you don't have to worry about time so much. Also, if you tell people that they have about 20 minutes to talk, they most of the time will be aware of that too. Working with nurse coaches is really great because everyone wants to make sure that everybody else gets the time that they need. So they kind of like self-police themselves. But if you ever find that you need extra time for a topic, be okay with like saying, hey, can we pick this up next week? We need to switch gears here. Or can you post this as a live in the Facebook group and I can make you a video in response? Those are both appropriate as well. Just a little nugget, rotate who goes first so that no one is always going last. For me, I wouldn't super care if I always went last, but some like resistance can be tricky. So just hold space in such a way that it's fair, that everyone has their turn and that no one is always last.
Hey,
Recorded
Shelby.
Yeah, Andrea.
I'm so sorry.
Hold on, Andrea. I'm going to unmute you again. There was an echo.
Can you hear me okay?
Ooh, I'm hearing an echo. Is anyone else hearing echoes? Mm-hmm.
Okay. I left them. I'm logged in on my phone and on my computer because Moroccan Wi-Fi is not good. So I'm like, if I get kicked out one, I have a backup.
Dedication.
So as far as the group, allowing 20 minutes per person, do you find a need to leave like 15 minutes at the end of the call to kind of brainstorm on everybody's learning throughout the coaching? Do you feel that that's a need, or do you just strictly limit it to 20 minutes per person and then you do a closeout?
Yeah, no, not usually. If there is time at the end, like say for some reason we just have like 10 or 15 extra minutes, I ask like, is there anything else that came up for anybody? Is there like, I'm here for the next 15 minutes. You got anything? And sometimes I'll have a few questions, but yeah, that is a good question, but I haven't ran into it.
So it's probably just everybody's kind of digesting it all at the end of the call. And that seems to be in a group coaching setting, that everybody's kind of just digesting it all. And okay.
Yeah. And also the perks of a group coaching scenario is that you get a little bit of time and space on the call to let it sink in and to also learn from other people too. So I think that that's like a cool bonus. But yeah, I ask at the end, does everyone feel complete? Is there anything outstanding? And most of the time we are good. We are good to go.
Okay. That sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right. So Nancy, I saw some of your questions in the group about Zoom. You do need the paid version of Zoom. I believe it's the pro version that allows you to host groups with no time limit. If you run over on time, like say that you set up a link for 2 hours, if you run over, it's not going to kick you out. You can go forever. Wouldn't recommend it, but it won't automatically close out the meeting for you. But if you are worried about running over on time, I would set a timer. Honestly, like I think that there's one called Clockify. One of my students was just telling me about. But 2 hours is a pretty lengthy call as is. A lot of your clients are going to like be getting childcare or being stepping out of work to be on the call. So as the coach, it is our job to be on time as much as possible, to honor that time and commitment for everyone and to not run over. So not that we have to be perfect, but I would be very diligent, even if it means cutting people off in the middle and saying, if we have time for this at the end, we'll come back to it. But I want to make sure everyone gets their turn today. And then, okay, so a few lessons learned on my end that I couldn't find the right spot for is that groups can take on their own mob-like mentality. And I mean this in the most loving way. But it's kind of like sometimes resistance can be contagious, and that you can find solidarity in when things get hard, and that's human nature. But also as the coach, keep an eye out for that, because if someone's like, oh, I can't do this because I can't work, or because I work 5 days a week or whatever, that's maybe a bad example, but we'll roll with it. I can't do this because I work 5 days a week. And then the other member of your group that also work 5 days a week is like, ooh, maybe I can't do this either because I also work 5 days a week. And if Amanda can't do it, can I do it? So just be aware of those thoughts and things that float around your group and be very bold in cutting them out as soon as possible. I haven't really had this happen in my groups, but I have been a part of groups where I've seen it become contagious, and like then the coach was then reacting to all of that instead of just like getting to the root and saying like, hey, I noticed that this is all of a sudden a thing for everybody in the group. Where did that come from? So something to be aware of. And then, as nurse coaches, I guess I'll speak for myself here, and then you all can choose what side of the line you're on. With groups, I'm constantly assessing if people are getting enough value, people are getting enough content, if people are getting enough support, if they're getting everything that they need. I assume a lot of responsibility on the behalf of my client. I would encourage all of you to be aware of that and to try to lean away from that as much as possible. Trust your client that after setting up the agreements that they are capable and asking for what they need when they need it. And if they want more of your time, offer it to them, but also make them pay for it too. This is a group coaching space. It is coaching on a budget. And if they need more support, you can always come up with like adding on some one-on-one sessions or, extending their contract on the back end by a few weeks, but just have a price that goes along with that. I have Nancy. So the coaching agreements, I do verbal. You can do written as well. If you like want to include it in your contract, you can totally do that too. And this, hey, Sarah, do you mind chiming in for a second? Are you in a place where you can turn on your video?
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, sorry, my children are like doing 5 different things right now. So hopefully they won't hop on here. But yeah, I just when you were talking about how like you were, kind of constantly evaluating and like wondering, are you giving enough value? All that. I feel like, especially as a coach, like I learned so much from you, of course, but also then like learning from how you were coaching other people and what they were going through. And then kind of almost thinking through like, how would I coach them? Like, what kind of questions would I ask them? That could be valuable for me in the future if my clients were to ever, have this come up or whatever. So, I mean, there's so much value of obviously one-on-one is awesome too, but there's so much value in group coaching that you may not even know exists until you kind of experience it. And then the like, community that you build with the other people in the group. I mean, yeah, it's so awesome. So
yeah, thanks for sharing that. I agree. Group coaching is like a drug for me. The first time I ever held a group, I was like, yeah, never doing one-on-one ever again. Never. I love this way too much. But yeah. Yes, I appreciate you sharing, Sarah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right. I think I might have skipped over one here. Sheila had a question about Zoom versus Google Meet. Recording Google Meet is a pain in the butt. So that's my 2 cents on that. Google, I mean, they operate pretty much the same. And yeah, Sheila, on our last call, we did a Google Meet because my Zoom was being weird. But recording on Google Meet is a pain, and I actually haven't figured it out yet. It's not very clear to me how to do it. So that's my 2 cents there. Nancy, did I miss a question of yours? I don't see. Nancy, did I miss any question for you? How do you set up, a Facebook group? I would encourage you to YouTube that. YouTube a tutorial on how to set up a Facebook group, because I don't remember all the steps off the top of my head. And that way you have a visual to someone that can walk you through it. Cool. All right. Deetra, do you give homework between assignments, between groups, or just focus on the meeting and individual needs and progress? So if homework is called for, 100%, absolutely. Homework usually is not the same across the board for all of my clients. Sometimes it is, but I'd say more often than not, it looks different. So based on their one-on-one strategy that we come up with on the call, that is how I base homework assignments. There are some, in order to be in my mentorship, there's like a list of things that you have to do before you get in the group. like setting up your business and setting up your payment and things like that. Those are things that have to be taken care of before you start. So you can also do okay, actually, this is a good question, Mitra. This triggered something else. So say you are enrolling a group for like October, but you are talking to people right now in August that may be a good fit for your group in October. You can assign homework between now and then. So like reading a certain book that addresses one of the pain points that your client has, or doing some journal exercises, or tracking their nutrition for a month, or their water intake, or their sleep routine. You know, like there's endless options there, but you can give them something to do in the meantime while they wait, to keep them engaged and to not have them like floating out in the world. And teacher, I can't find you on my screen. Was that helpful? Yeah.
Yes, that was helpful. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
I did started a little group. My only challenge was I need to focus more on laser coaching, because they kind of looked more at it as like education and wasn't really sharing as much. And I needed to I was trying to figure out how to really dig deeper and get them not to just look to me and not participate as much. So the laser coaching, I'll definitely implement that more.
Yeah, good point. Good point. And I think that can probably blend across into one-on-one coaching too, where people are just looking to us like, what do I do? What you tell me what to do? And you're like, no, it's so much more. It's so much more than that. Yeah. I'm glad that was helpful though. Amanda, can you speak more about finding ideal clients to fill the group as far as marketing or promoting who the group is for? All right, friend, unmute yourself and tell me what you think about this. If I wasn't going to tell you an answer, what would you do?
I mean, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. You're supposed to tell me the answer, Shelby. I mean, I'm just asking because I'm thinking like the potential clients that I've talked to recently, like I've reached out to them kind of expecting them to want certain things or like want to work on certain things. And then often it's just something completely different. So that's more where the question came from, I think.
Yeah, I feel like you're in an interesting point with your clients right now. So can I give everyone a little frame of reference on what we're talking about? So Amanda works with women who are in the middle of their like religious deconstruction journey. And whenever she reaches out to those type of women, they end up coming to the call and wanting to work on like job satisfaction and like kind of making huge pivots in their life that way, which is super, super interesting to me. I know that we're in the middle of that, but I find that really fascinating. So I would encourage you, like, let's do a few more calls and see if that's true across the board. But whenever like we're marketing or advertising towards a group, being very specific in the pain points that you're going to work on is helpful. So like, again, back to those questions of in working with you, where do people go? Like, how do you help these women who are in the middle of their spiritual deconstruction journey? And what do they need to get from point A to point B? But also, if the women that you keep attracting are like wanting to quit their job, then like we can also help them too, right? They just might be in a different space.
Okay. And you're still giving one-on-ones before you propose a group price as well, right? Like the complimentary session?
Oh, not anymore. Okay. No. Now, and this will hopefully happen for everybody here on the call. This did not start happening for me until literally this year. So like, gosh, two and a half years in. But now my last group and this group that I'm filling for October, I've had people just message me and be like, can you tell me more about what the mentorship is or what this is? And then we get on a call and it's usually like 30 minutes and deciding what's best fit for them. But I mean, shoot, the first 2.5 years of my business were reaching out like, hey, I see you just graduated the collective. Do you want to start a private practice? I can totally offer you support here. And then offering like the prosperous coach method of the first session, And then usually on that first session, the homework was go read The Prosperous Coach. If you love it, come back to me and let's talk, because I have a container where I can support you more in that. But yes, when you're filling a group, it's easiest to start with the people who've told you no first, because you don't necessarily have to offer them a full call. But if they are a new person, they don't know you, I would offer them the 1-2 sessions.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bri, can you tell us about filling your group?
Sure, what about it?
Well, okay, so the last we talked, this is like a baby idea. So I haven't seen the evolution of how this came to be. Like, do you have people in your group? How many? What'd you learn?
Yeah, so and as you were talking about like your first group attempt flopping, I was thinking about when we were working together a few months back, and I had that girl say like, yes, absolutely. And then she just like totally ghosted me. And that was like back in the winter time. So I just want to say like, that's when you said that, it just brought me back to that moment. But yeah, so as of right now, I have 2 people in my group. 2 people make it a group. So I'm
Yay.
excited.
Yeah. People are like, how many? I'm like, as long as it's more than one, it's a group. Congratulations.
But the way I went about filling it is I've been holding meditation circles weekly. And then if people resonate like with that practice, then I offer them like you said, a 30-minute one-on-one to just see if we're a good fit. So that system's been working really well for me. And one other girl, she was finishing up 8 weeks one-on-one with me. So she's transitioning into the group as well.
Sweet.
Yeah.
This is a personal question, but what's been your conversion rate from like those 30-minute one-on-ones into the group?
Let me see, because I just had my like sheet up. Because I don't know off the top of my head, like from calls to actual like yeses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I've been doing 25 invites a week to the meditation circles in general. And I've gotten from the 25 invites, like just to go from like last week, 25 invites, 11 people show up, and then 3 people sign up for one-on-ones. And then I got 1 yes from there.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I know everyone's probably hearing those numbers and is like, but that is the numbers game that we play when you are building the foundation of your practice. And that, I mean, excellent job on the outreach. That's amazing.
Yeah, outreach I can't say is the funnest part. But
no, Bride, tell everyone how you love it. You love the
outreach. But consistency in it definitely has an effect. It pays off.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. Amanda asked you, Bride, do you hold your meditations on Zoom or Facebook?
I do it on Zoom. I like do personal invites and then grab their emails and send them the Zoom link.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Yeah, Rachel.
Hi.
Hello.
So, hi. So, I'm a student with the INCA group, and we're supposed to do a pro bono group. But I think I botched it up. So what happened was I'm really interested in the sarcoidosis group, and because my husband has sarcoidosis, so I reached out just in general to say, hey, I'm doing a group session on pro bono, blah blah blah. Anyone interested? Then message me, and I had messages, but everybody has different things of what they wanted. So
okay.
Would it be more beneficial if I had been more specific? Like, if you are a bit, if you have fear, I'm going to talk about fear or resilience.
Yeah.
Because now I'm having all these people, and
I want to help them, but then I don't want to have like 10 different group thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
And
lot
you
to
were saying
juggle.
that the group thing should be like 12 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks. So that's and I only have till October to finish. I know I'm starting a bit late.
Yeah, Rachel, this is for pro bono for certification, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how many sessions are you supposed to have with them?
2 of 2 groups.
So 2 sessions with 2 groups?
That's what's required.
Okay. Yeah, so you are playing by different rules than what I was talking about here, which is totally okay. Pro bono stuff is different. Like it's shorter, right? Like I think that we can really lean into that being a learning experience versus you having to nail it and get it right, because you're still a student, you're still learning, and you're really close to the finish line, but it's okay. I'm curious, what are some of the things that people reached out to you wanting to talk about?
Fear. Quite a lot of them wanted me to talk about fear. Fear of even going out of the house, and I'm like, I don't even know how. My background is ICU. I don't know anything. I feel like most of them need psychological. I don't know. It's like I know they're facing, because of the sarcoidosis. And many of them don't have jobs. Many of them can't even get disability for some reason, and I feel bad for them. I want to help them, but I'm not an expert in fear. So my next question is, what do you do to prepare yourself? Do I have to read like a lot of things about fear?
Good question. Sheila, are you here? Can you turn on your video?
Hey there.
Hi. Can I call on you for this one?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, Sheila.
I'm all ears.
Yeah, were you able to hear what Rachel was talking about?
I quickly stepped away. I'm sorry.
You're good. Okay. So Rachel is a current student in Inca, another certification program. She needs to do some pro bono sessions with a group, and she's doing pro bono sessions with an immunocompromised group who is fearful to leave the house. That is like a big trend amongst this group. And you're the first person that jumped to my mind. She just is not sure where to start.
Well, I'm still sheltering in place. I've not been able to work in a setting since the beginning of pandemic because of my specific type of immune deficiency that I have. So fears around that. For me, what I've been working on a lot is the idea of what can I do? Sure, I have limitations. Any kind of chronic illness is going to come with some kind of a limitation. So what can I do with what I have? You know, it's like playing a game of cards. You know, what hand did you get dealt? And, you know, what's your best play? And trying to make the most of it. You know, like for me, it was, you know, going to the nurse coaching school at the beginning of the pandemic. And then, you know, it's like, okay, well, what do I need to do with this? You know, and then where can I go? But, you know, keeping yourself busy and safe as much as possible and keeping yourself social. Having the group is going to be great because that's going to be social interaction for them. I have my own immune deficiency group as well that I do. And they love it. They love being able to come together, and I offer it for free. So anything else I can elaborate on?
So when you offer it for free, are you going into Zoom?
I do it through the Facebook group. It's a private group. Yeah, it's a private group, and only those with an immune deficiency or a direct family member can actually become a member of that group. So I make it a tight container so that it's more of a safe environment with others that truly understand what it is that they're going through.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's helpful. I
so-
was just like, when I think Shelby, when I saw your you said, oh, group coaching, so oh, maybe I can learn a lot. Then I was saying, oh, this is too advanced, I'm like a baby. I'm not even starting out with anything.
Well, Rachel, I'm glad you're here. And just I want you to feel okay that you are playing by different rules right now, right? A lot of the nurse
Okay.
coaches on this call are graduated. They've been in private practice for a little bit. So it's
Mhm.
we're just in different stages, and all of them are perfect. Be exactly where you're at. But what I was hearing Sheila say there most is like, instead of focusing on what you can't do or what isn't available to you, focus on feeling empowered on what you can and what you can control and what is possible. But what comes up for me is there's a lot of power in listening, like so much power in listening. So you even organizing the space for people to be heard is like super, super, super powerful on its own. So I know that my internet might be cutting in and out here. Sorry, team, but I wanted to offer that as well.
Thank you.
All right, Rachel, let us know how it goes. We're rooting for you.
Thanks. I'm very nervous because I don't know anything. I don't like speaking. I mean, one-to-one is okay, but a whole group, yeah. But we'll see. I have to do it, right?
Yep. No choice but to lean in, my friend. No choice. Janet, I saw your hand too, and then we'll go Debbie.
I just had some thoughts for Rachel, but just that, no, you don't have to know everything that your people want to know. And I think probably the lesson for Inca that you need to learn is the process step, not so much the did you know enough for all of the people in your group. And also Nancy provided something in the comments that is good in kind of seeing what everybody said to you, then kind of hone in on just two things. We're gonna have 2 sessions, and we're gonna talk about fear, and we're gonna talk about overcoming fear, or kind of just really kind of microscopic on what you're going to do in the group. Those are my only thoughts.
Yeah, awesome feedback, Janet.
Thank you.
That's a good point. Good point. All right, Nancy, I see your question here. So it sounds like setting up a Facebook group first and connecting might be good thing to see interest and have communication, a hosting event or group. Can you ask this question? I'm a little confused, Nancy.
So I was excited about group coaching, but I'm realizing that actually starting the Facebook group and getting the connection and the interest going, or seeing how much interest there is actually in what I'm offering, seems like the first step before getting excited about actually having group coaching on Zoom. So like collaboration, the connection, the interest, you see it happening on the group on Facebook, and then you host an event or you begin to consider group coaching on Zoom. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. So yes, you can use that as well, but I would say that the actual first step is if you have a list of people that you think would be a good fit for a group, or that you can help, that reaching out to them and offering them a call is the first step. Because building Facebook community and building enough Facebook community so that people show up to your events or workshops or whatever, that takes time. Like I've been saying this a lot the past week, but like there were many events in the beginning of the Successful Nurse Coaches to where one person would show. And now there's like 30 of you on this call today. It's kind of like mind blowing for me. And if anyone else has hosted an event or a webinar, then like you also know that, again, it's a little bit of a rite of passage that no one shows for the first few rounds. But that's more like long game. So creating a Facebook group, sure. Creating some events or webinars that you host on a semi-regular basis, awesome. Like, I think that when you can build community around your coaching, even better, but that is a long-term game. So think like a year, like, but why not start now? Why not do that? And also direct outreach to people too.
Okay.
Yeah, Debbie.
Mine kind of goes along with what Nancy was just talking about, because I have actually, through some research, getting into some Facebook groups and talking to a few people, have just set up a Facebook group, a private one, to do a monthly membership, not as an 8 to 12 week, but kind of a low fee monthly membership in kind of what my nursing is right now. So it will be just a like-minded group. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, and then go to one-on-ones from there, because of the groups that I'm in, I can't advertise. I can't go in and pull people out, but there's so much in that group that these people need specifically. That's how I created it, as a membership. So it's not just an 8 to 12 week, we're done. It will be a monthly ongoing if they want to stay. If they don't, it's
Yeah. So what are you talking about on those calls? Like what are the things you see that those clients need that they aren't able to get in the other groups?
Well, it would be mostly posting information, daily, most of the stuff, answering questions that are on there, but doing a monthly Zoom question and answer with me.
Okay.
Kind of, because I'm seeing so much, and what I've been doing for the last 9 years, I am seeing so much out there of incorrect information. It's driving me nuts. I'm sorry. That's kind of where I went from it, but it's just driving me nuts. So I actually created the group as Ask Nurse Deb, and then kind of like added on to that, because it's just incredible. But I'm just wondering, like, what kind of group from that, and then even getting one-on-ones from that.
Sure, totally. So I just want to make a really clear distinction that monthly Q&A call is not monthly coaching, right? So like those are two separate things. I think that coaching really benefits from having a tight container of a timeline so that people know when the start and when the end is. But like a monthly Q&A thing, sure, why not? I also think that that's a good way to market and support your one-on-one coaching as well. Of like, if you're needing more support here, reach out to me. I can go deeper with you on this. I think that that's like awesome. What are you charging for those monthly calls?
That's kind of where I'm in a quandary right now, but it was going to be very low, like a $29.99. I mean, because if I get a huge group, that's going to, and it's monthly. So, I'm not charging like $1,800 for 8 weeks at this point, but for the monthly membership, I was just going to do a low fee. I also have, thoughts in my head too of, a lot of these people are Medicare, Medicaid, different things that maybe not be able to afford a membership. So I don't want to make it too high.
I think you know what I'm going to say about that, Deb.
Get it out of my head. Yeah.
I see what you're saying though, is like, so in our coaching spaces, we really harp on do the 12-week offer, do the coaching, because that is what is actually in service to you too. Like a lot of our nurses are looking for a way out of the hospital, need to replace their income as soon as possible. And we're not going to get there quickly by doing $29 monthly memberships, right? However, there's like many ways to play this game too. So you can a lot of coaches have like 3 levels of an offer, to where like the lowest offer to work with you is like a $30 membership. You have a call once a month. You can come on, get your questions answered. The second way to work with me is $1,800 for 8 weeks. We go take a deep dive on your health and we get things calibrated, and I can support you in a more intimate setting that way. And then like your third offer would be something similar to like a back end offer, something that's longer, like 6 months, 8 months, a year, that comes at a higher price ticket. And that's like the Cadillac experience of getting to work with you. So for new coaches, you can get a little lost in the sauce with all of that. So I encourage you to stick with one offer for now. But Deb, you and I've worked together before. I know that you have support right now. And so if that is what is going to best serve your community as you build it, lean in, see what happens. Worst case scenario, nothing. And we learn from that, and we can pivot. But I like that ask Nurse Deb. I like that phrase. It's catchy.
Yeah, well, I did it as Ask Nurse Deb, and then I put in there a peritoneal dialysis nurse so that they know, what specifically it is. And would you do contracts with that as a membership? That was my other question about contracts. Do you have multiple different contracts?
Yeah, I do. I would say that like at least like a payment agreement of you will have access to the Facebook group and access to the monthly call. I'm going to charge your card on the 15th of every month for $29.99. You can opt out at any time, but you have to give me 2 weeks heads up. You can't cancel like the night before, like just like a payment agreement would probably be most appropriate for that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, Sheila. Oh my gosh, I'm getting a little lost in the questions here. Doing groups with another nurse coach, I don't recommend it, because for a lot of I know that I said that I did that. I know that I have a business partner that is a nurse coach. I'll leave this at this of, if your partner that you are thinking about is just as invested in their business financially as you are, sure, you can partner with a nurse coach. But I am cautious to recommend that, because a lot of times people have not invested in their own support or their own coaching for themselves, and they are looking to learn from you, which is also okay. But I would just partner with someone who's just as financially invested in their business as you are, Sheila. Kim jumped off. Bye, Kim. Yeah, any other questions we have here, team? Yeah, Dana.
So I'm just curious, because usually the one-on-one calls I've had so far, they get super deep. So I'm curious about how group works. Like, is it more focused in a specific thing, or do people actually open up in the group, or is it, because it seems really difficult for people to open up in a group setting about the things they really want to talk about. Or is it more like goal oriented, like super surface?
Yeah, no, not at all. I have a lot of my previous clients on this call. Would any of you chime in and share your experience about the deepness on our calls?
I'll speak a little bit too, because obviously I hired Shelby for business reasons, but everything is connected, business, personal, all of that. So, I mean, I went deep. I cried on a lot of calls. I felt very safe and supportive, and I think that just is really in reflection of how that container is set up. If you create that safe space where people feel comfortable in going deep enough, that kind of sets the stage, if that's helpful at all.
Yeah. And I think that agreements are really important. And this kind of circles back a little bit to like when I was talking about being the gatekeeper of the energy in that group, because we do want space for people to go deep and be vulnerable. Like I've had life-changing coaching moments within a span of 10 minutes in a room full of people that I've never met before. And so whenever we set those and create those agreements, a lot of times we lead by example, right? So as the coach, that means asking deep questions, probing into vulnerable areas, and not playing on the surface level just because we don't think that we have time. I've been on the receiving end of some really powerful, super laser coaching. I have been doing really powerful laser coaching on my own end. But I think that as the leader of that space, it is our job to, and sometimes it can take a few weeks to drop in too, Dana. Like usually once the first person cries, then everyone can like relax a little bit into the space and feel comfortable to be vulnerable and be like, oh, okay, Bri cried, I can cry now, and the whole group isn't going to jump off the call, right? So, but does that answer your question, Dana?
Yeah. So I'm still thinking like, so these are people that don't know each other most of the time.
Mostly, yeah, mostly.
Okay.
Some might. I have a lot of clients that create group spaces where their clients don't know one another beforehand. But some things that can be helpful to like break the ice or like get the casual stuff out of the way. Like, where are you from? How many kids do you have? Where do you live? What hospital do you work for? Like, get all that stuff out of the way. And in the beginning of the call, we talked about like whenever you have common goals within your group, everyone's there mostly working towards the same thing. So whether it's working on their mom burnout or working in my group containers as new nurse coaches, like with similar goals. So everyone feels on the same team and there's that extra layer of camaraderie built in.
Cool. Yeah. It's kind of like going to a new place and being able to do whatever you want because nobody knows you.
Yeah. That's a good point. You can probably even show up more authentically when no one's met you before.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks. Good question though. All right, team. Got about 10 minutes here. Any other questions for me? Good question so far. I appreciate all of them. Okay, cool. Well, let me check out my sheet here really quick, make sure I didn't miss anything. Nancy, I saw a couple of your other questions in the Facebook group. Were you talking about setting up a Facebook group or a Facebook event? Because I saw that you're mentioning like your business page and your personal page. So we're talking about events or groups?
So right now I have a regular Facebook page, Facebook site. I have a coaching, just Nancy Barlow coaching, but there's no activity on there. So right. I was wondering how that works because since there's no activity on the one, it seems like if it's a nurse coaching related, it should be on the business page.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to disagree because no one cares about business pages, like truly. They want to know you, Nancy, the nurse coach, Nancy. So you already have friends on your like personal Facebook page. So create groups from your personal Facebook page. You can totally do that. And that way you can send out invites to people who you're already friends with. You can share it to your business Facebook page if you would like. But Facebook is kind of like a machine. And if you're not buying ads, if you're not playing the Facebook game, then they're not going to promote your business. And I would even say that small business, like truly small businesses, have a tough time on there. If we can consider like Heather and Peter like a bigger business with the collective, like there's a reason you probably all see their Facebook ads because they have their marketing down and they feed the Facebook machine because that's how their business is set up. But it's expensive. So for now, I would recommend using your personal page for everything. And oftentimes we create business pages to hide So I'd also encourage no one to do that either.
Are there some,
no, go ahead, Nancy.
Are there some tutorials, even on more in-depth stuff on Facebook? Because I was actually just fooling around with my profile and literally it posted that I started a new job with, it was just like a name that I was thinking about. I wasn't even, I was just goofing around with it. I haven't really solidified the fact that I'm going to be doing this certain name of my company, and it posted it that Nancy Barlow started a new job, and like all these people are congratulating me, and I haven't even solidified that.
Okay, well, you know what is great about this, Nancy? Shoot all of those people a message and offer them a session with you. Say, thanks for the support on my new endeavor. Would you like a free coaching session with me? And then like run through the process. So that's great that you got support. But yes, if you go to YouTube and you type in like how to change my job title on Facebook, or how to set up a Facebook event, or how to whatever you need to know, I 100% know that there is a Facebook tutorial on there for you that you can watch.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's easy to get lost in all the settings of Facebook. The other day I was playing around with our business page, Nancy, and I hate it. Laura loves it and I hate it. I hate our business page. I never look at it ever. But then I went over there and I looked at it and I saw that we had like 15 messages just sitting in the inbox, and I was like, oh crap. we should pay attention to that. And she's like, I do pay attention to it. You need to pay attention. That's fair. I do need to pay attention. So as things grow, you can utilize those things. But like right now, when we're looking to get like your first 5 to 10 clients, I just so encourage your personal page. Facebook loves when you post content as a real human. So it favors that in the algorithm. Pictures of you, videos of you, all of that stuff. All right. Any last minute questions here? No? Yeah, you guys can tell I do a little shimmy whenever I'm encouraging last minute questions. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for spending some of your Friday with me. I'm glad that this is recorded. We will get it posted in the group next week. Also, we have a YouTube channel, which feels like kind of corny for me to say. So if you're ever like needing this information a year from now, The Successful Nurse Coaches is our YouTube channel. You can go, all of our videos are going to be uploaded there. Also, we are going to start doing something called like a monthly huddle email, to where we recap all of the videos that we post for the whole month, and anything important that you missed. Those will go out in a monthly email. We've gotten some feedback that it's hard to scroll through the Facebook group, which I agree, it's kind of a pain in the butt. So if you want to be on that email list, we're going to be getting that together here soon. So just keep an eye out in the group for that, where you can sign up. Oh, and if you're interested in the mentorship, message me, because we are making some changes and some shifts that I'm really excited about. And so if you have any questions about the mentorship, shoot me a message. Happy to clue you in. But yeah, I appreciate all your time. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.